How yeah, and welcome to episode 43 of the Temple Bard podcast with me, Jim Wynn and Philip Noon. Philip, down by the river.
Down by the river, Jim. Well, before we start on that, can we just tell people? Can we just do this now? Because we've a lot of correspondence this week for anybody messaging us.
A lot of Bridezillas in the DMs.
A lot of Bridezillas in the DMs. We do not price wedding bands. We are not in the wedding industry. We have never claimed to be in the wedding industry.
Well, we do some weddings.
Oh, no, okay, yeah. No, okay, I can't say we're not in the wedding industry. But we're not in a wedding band.
No,
right.
Actually not in a wedding band.
So, last week, as you know, everything went a bit viral. I'd say everybody in the country seen that video because across all our social media, it did a few 100,000. And then Blue Moose did a reaction video. Mm-hmm. Blue Moose are a popular Irish wedding band who don't charge 10 grand.
They charge they claim to charge less than Lionel Richie.
They claim to charge less than Lionel Richie, but they didn't say how much they like. So he used that video. There was a band called Blue Moose, and he came out and he took what we said. He didn't go into it at all. He said that's ridiculous. He said we will not charge more than Lionel Richie. Yeah. He didn't say they're not charging. Well, now he came out in the comments and he said they're charging 3,000 to 7,000 euro. But a lot of brides got in touch with us, and they were saying what bands are charging €10 or 10,000 euro because we want to avoid them. We don't know now. So the guy from Blue Moose, I can't remember his name. He did say, and they had a radio interview during the week talking about us as well, in on a Galway-based radio station. They were talking about our video. And he was saying that,
today Galway-based, tomorrow Joe Duffy.
Joe's gone.
Oh, is he gone?
Joe Duffy's gone.
Is he?
Yeah, Joe's gone.
To?
I think he's retired.
Did he do what Jesus did, ascend?
What would Joe Duffy do? Isn't it?
Yes, yeah. That's our podcast team from now on. What would Joe Duffy do?
What would Joe Duffy do?
Go on.
So this Galway-based radio station, basically we're saying, that we were scaremongering and we were... But as this guy from Blue Moose said on the radio station, he said, well, the lads weren't wrong. There are bands out there charging 10,000 euro. Mm. But not every wedding band is charging 10,000 euro, even though we didn't say every bit. We said probably.
Yeah.
So for everybody who got in touch with us this week, we're not saying that every good wedding band in Ireland is charging 10,000 euro.
No. And if you did get in touch with us, thinking that that's what we were saying, then you obviously didn't listen to the whole podcast because that's where listening to the whole podcast is where you'll find the nuance. We went watching the clips. The clips are supposed to garner a response. That's what they're made for.
They are. We went very deep, and can we just say every figure we quoted on the podcast, like the 20,000 euro for that band, that's true. Mm-hmm. There are bands charging 10,000 euro. Nothing was incorrect. We didn't lie, but I said the best bands are probably charging 10 grand. It turns out now they're charging 7. So the best bands are charging 3,000 to 7,000 euro. According to a member of a wedding band. Now, is he talking about... I'm sure he's got a few weddings out of that podcast.
Probably has.
I'm sure we've lined that man's pockets.
Happy to do it.
But
happy to do it, brother.
But yeah, look, it brought the podcast to a new audience. If you're just joining us, you're all very welcome to the Temple Bard podcast. Yeah. We talk a lot of shite. Some facts are facts. Some facts are not factual at all.
There is no such thing as facts. It's all subjective.
It's all in the dualities.
It's all in the dualities. But
and the dualities were collapsing during the week.
The dualities are collapsing in this infinite moment. That is all that there is, Philip. But go on, explain more.
The two managers of the two bands at the festival.
Oh, yeah. If you haven't seen... social media, you really can't... just when you think you've seen it all, you'll see something else that will just give you another nudge that the dualities are collapsing. So, Philip, I'll let you tell the story.
There was a... So, with music festivals now, a lot of nostalgia comes back into it. You've got the big weekender and you've got things where it's like, there's another one I can't remember what it's called, but they bring back loads of bands from the 80s and the 90s.
Also, as we discussed on the podcast before, legacy artists are the only ones making the big money still because there's so much free music or music people are drawn to. We talked about this, how 70 or 80% of what the major record labels are making is off their legacy artists. So nostalgia is the biggest selling point in music at the moment. So you'll always get older bands, but this one in particular is great.
Now this is a dead serious question. Would the Venga Boys be a legacy artist?
Yeah.
Would they?
Yeah. They're from the time where people bought CDs. And
That's true. That's true.
They sold loads of CDs.
Yeah, no, but they wouldn't have sold loads of CD. Like they were always on a now 36. That's what I call music. They were always like the number 1 or 2 songs on that. Do you remember the way they'd start off in the first? If you like remember the now.
Someone on their Casio keyboard.
But the Venga Boys were always like in the. So remember the now 30 something now. That's what I call music.
Nows, yeah.
and those all the nows. The first 10 songs were always bangers.
Right.
And then as you went down, like once you got as far as like Anne Lee 2 times, after that you were.
Well, you know, that's subjective. You can't. Some people's bangers might have been in the bottom 15 just because your bangers weren't there, Philip.
Yeah, but well, you know what I mean. The radio bangers were always in there.
I know what you
But so there was a festival. I don't know what it was called. I think it was a Scottish one.
Mm-hmm.
2 bands who I never thought would be on the same bill: the Venga Boys and the Boomtown Rats were on the same bill. The Boomtown Rats, Bob Geldof, Live Aid, saved Africa for 15 minutes in 1986.
Mm-hmm. Allegedly.
And so Bob Geldof, Sir Bob Geldof, of the Boomtown Rats, and the Venga Boys. My uncle John from Jamaica. The Venga bus is coming. Boom, 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 boom. I want you in my room.
Yeah.
We're not only on the same bill, they were on the same time slot.
Yeah.
So there was a mix-up in the time slot. And
Or they were overlapping time slots.
There were overlapping time slots. So the 2 managers, if you've seen the video on social media, the 2 managers are basically fighting. And your man from the Venga Boys is saying, you're going to be off by 9 o'clock and we will be on that stage by 9 o'clock. Your man from
the Venga bus is coming whether you like it or not.
The Venga bus is never late. So your man from the Boomtown Rats is like, we're not going to be off the stage by 9 o'clock. And your man from the Venga Boys is going, you're going to be off the stage by 9 o'clock and we are on that stage by 9 o'clock. That's the dualities. Drink.
That's one more example of the continuous stream of duality collapsing phenomenon manifesting in the world before us. But who are they getting the geld off? Because that's in Germany, you know, geld is money. So money.
That was good.
I just had to throw a pun in there, even though I knew nobody would understand it. So I had to explain it, which all good puns must be explained.
No, but you do that all the time. What did you say to me yesterday? Ferret moans.
Ferret moans, yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about.
Philip was talking about how he'd spend a ridiculous amount of money on aftershave and stuff for the pheromones.
For the pheromones.
And I says you could pay for ferret moans.
No, well, I was saying, isn't that why people spend money on aftershave? Because some of them replicate like pheromones and things like that, and you were saying it's just all the pheromones.
Just all the pheromones. What the fuck is that? I'm kind of horny, but what is that? That's just me. That's just me ferret moans. So we call this Down by the River this episode today because just before we started, we got a text from a listener, Peter.
Peter wrote in.
Peter, which is a very funny and interesting and story we'd never heard before.
No, it's coming up to the 150th anniversary of the Dublin River of Whiskey Fire.
Now, have you ever heard of that? That's some Mandela effect thing, because that's the kind of thing I would have thought I would have heard of.
The Dublin
Risky Whiskey. The Dublin Risky Whiskey.
The Dublin River of Whiskey Fire started in the Liberties in 1875. So what happened was, there was a place called Malone's Malt House, and it had 5,000 barrels of whiskey. There was a big
more than the Irish Rover.
More than the Irish Rover. Mm. How many did they have? 3 million.
10,000. Oh, yeah, they had millions.
3 million. No, 3 million sides of a blind horse.
6 million sides. Barrels of port. They didn't even have whiskey. No, they did have whiskey.
6 million barrels of bones.
Wasn't it porter?
Oh, I don't know. I've been singing it wrong for years.
I don't even sing it, so I wouldn't know. I couldn't possibly claim to know.
But
anyway,
5 million hogs and 6 million dogs.
that's that much we know for sure.
And the hogs are very interesting because they're in this story as well. So what happened was, there was a big fire in the malt house. 5,000 barrels of whiskey burst, sending a river 6 feet wide, 2 feet deep, and on fire down this fucking Chamber Street, right? So, like this went for like 600 or 700 feet down the street, just a big river of whiskey.
A hell scene.
A hell scene.
Or heaven scene.
So everybody in Dublin had heard about this, so everybody started running to this river of whiskey because they're like, there's a river of whiskey running down the street. People were using their boots to like dig flaming whiskey out of it and drink it out of their boot, like boots on fire and all. right? There was a load of livestock in the street because back in the day there was like pigs and this is not like you can Google this. This is nuts. Like when I read this is wild. Loads of pigs and cows that were in the area got caught up in the fire. So you had fucking flaming pigs running down the street and all like.
Flaming beef. More flaming beef than the Burger King.
More. So when the dust settles, you have fucking dead black pigs all over the street, charcoal pigs all over the place. 13 people died, and not one of them died from the fire. They all died from the alcohol poisoning of drinking flaming whiskey coming down the street.
You would have thought the flames would burn away the alcohol, because that's...
Well, no. So it was just a pure alcohol. But so 61 people ended up in hospital. 13 of them died. Not one of them died from smoke inhalation. Not one of them was burned to death. They all died from alcohol.
Only the pigs.
That's savage.
It's madness. It's crazy, and it gives you a look into how like, the city used to be when you look around.
It's the most Irish thing ever.
It is most Irish. That's why I can't believe I haven't heard of it before. It's very odd that I haven't heard about that before. But thanks for letting us know, Peter, because that's
the 150th anniversary of a whiskey. Imagine if it happened now.
We shall never forget, Philip.
The same thing had happened now.
Oh, it'd be.
If I heard there was a river of whiskey running down the street,
it'd be a meme.
You'd have to get a drink out of it.
You wouldn't even get. You wouldn't get 13 people dying now. They'd all be off at yoga.
Everybody would be in doing a sea swim.
Everyone would be in doing the sea swim. I'll tell you something I was watching. Speaking of how there's no objective reality, I was watching a documentary yesterday about, is it Philip Galliardo or something? He was a famous designer,
right,
for Dior, and you know he came along and started doing all these like mad. You know when you see fashion shows and it's just like mad stuff. You don't know what's going on. And I was watching it, and I was like, because you know how I like watching stuff that I don't have any interest in. Yeah. So I said, this would be a good example. This would be a good example of this, because I like to see people's passion for it, and it just shows me that my view of reality isn't reality. It's just my view of it.
For anybody who doesn't know what Jim's talking about, Jim is fascinated by things like what was it? Tinned fish reviews.
Tinned fish reviews.
And the fella who loves the trains.
The fella who loves the trains.
Bourgeois, Simon Bourgeois.
I like watching like golf documentaries when I'd never watch a round of golf.
Formula One.
I'd never watch Formula One.
Jim just likes watching stuff that he's never.
I like watching people who are passionate about things that I don't see the thing for. So that it just shows me that there is no good thing. It's just what we project onto it. So this was a really good example of that, because this fella came along and he did a fashion show, and everyone was like, the whole fashion world exploded, saying he was a genius. I'm watching it like it's just people wearing jackets upside down. I'm like, what? In my head, I'm going, how is this genius? This is like just literally. It's like when you see these art projects going for like trillions of euro, and it's just like someone just threw a few smokes at a paintbrush.
Everybody starts clapping.
Yeah, everyone's like, oh my God, it blew my mind. But I was watching it and I was just thinking, it's mad because and when they got into it, then they were talking about how the lines of the clothes move and all. I was like, oh, I never thought like it. So they're looking at things. It's like bodybuilding. You know, when you look at bodybuilding, people are looking at things that you don't see if you don't have an expertise in it.
I love watching bodybuilding.
Well, you would be more into it than I would be, I'd say.
I think it's savage.
But it just showed, it was just an interesting, and yet another interesting way of seeing that none of us see the world the same way. And the things that we find beautiful, or the things that we find ugly, or the things that we find attractive or unattractive or motivating, or the things that light the light in us doesn't necessarily light it in somebody else. So it's a good way of seeing that everybody sees the world different, and a great way of accepting it. And it was an interesting watch. Now, he got into a bit of trouble. There was a bit of a Kanye incident. So apparently now this fella, I think it was John Galliardo. I'd have to look it up. But anyway, it's on Netflix. But apparently he used to like a drink. And when he had a drink, he got blackout drunk and was very bowled. So there was a few videos of him circling. Right, he's working for
the... Bit like us, circa 2017.
Yeah. There's a video of him sitting down in a cafe in Paris, drunk out of his mind, talking to two Jewish ladies, and he was saying, I loved Hitler though, and he goes, and if he had won like we wanted him to, your mothers and your grandmothers would have been gassed alive, and you wouldn't be here to talk to me. Like, and he was like really fucking. It was like the bells to the bell kind of stuff you want. So remember we talked about someone ever got cancelled. This fella got cancelled.
Oh, did he? Yeah. Back in the 80s.
I know. I think it was in the 2000s. I think it was the 2000s. He's back now,
Right.
So the cancellation never, like, nothing lasts.
No, it never lasts.
Nothing lasts. But he's come back. He went on. He got, like, a lot of his managers and people that he worked with were Jewish, and they gave him a history of Judaism and the struggles they've been through and all. So now he's on the way back. And I'll leave it up to you if you think he's being genuine or he's just trying to. That's the question you're left with.
The cancellation never lasts, but I'll tell you something. People's opinion won't. Like, Will Smith is a good example of this. Every video he posts now, he's trying to look like he did pre-slap. And everybody's still like, you're not cool anymore.
Yeah, but even that won't last forever.
I know it will. I think he's a fucking idiot. And because the more I see, because I've watched that slap back 3 or 4 times, and he initially laughs at it. Like, he says it, like Will Smith's laughing. And then the next thing he looks at his wife and she gives him a look. And then the next thing he's like, all right. And then he gets up and goes up and slaps you.
Who knows what he was thinking or why he did it? Or, like, I mean, I'm over it. It doesn't bother me. I look at him. I might think of it if I'm looking at him now, but I can see him if he does another couple of good movies. I forget about it.
See, I loved him when he was Mike.
I loved him too.
When he was Mike Lowry in Bad Boys 1. Like, I don't know if I've mentioned this before. When he was running down the street and his shirt was open, I was like, I want to get in that shape. I was like, that's the shape you have to be.
The Mike Lowry shape.
When I was like 14 or 15, I was like, you have to be in that shape. You have to have a gun running down Venice
2 guns
Beach.
with your shirt open.
Running down Venice Beach in California to be cool.
Yeah. Bono's doing the rounds this week. I have to say, I really like listening to Bono. I know, like, he takes the piss out of himself, and I know how people see him as this kind of, like, he's a hypocrite, but, like, as we've discussed before, everyone's a hypocrite. So I listened to him on the Joe Rogan podcast, which I thought was very interesting. He's just, like, I don't know the man. And again, I won't judge him, but from my perspective of it, I feel like his heart's in the right place. Now, and he's obviously fighting. He's in a very difficult position where he's a rock star. So, like we've talked about, it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to find heaven. So he's got that, like, the ego when you've got such a big profile is much more difficult to deal with because you feel like it's your whole identity. So I just find that, like, when I listen to him, he takes the piss out of himself. I feel like he's kind of, his opinions and of himself and everything has kind of evolved, like all of ours. And I just thought it was a very interesting podcast with Joe Rogan, and a good way. And it's a one that I would have thought would have happened a few years ago, because Bono would have been in that very kind of neoliberal sphere where everyone's like, he's with Obama and Hillary Clinton and all this. But
to be fair, Joe Rogan's just that big now.
Yeah, Joe Rogan is that big now, but also, you know, a lot of people still look at it because he had Trump on, or the opposite. Like, people look at it from one of the wings and say, oh, yeah, this person on, I'm not going to listen to that, which of course it's up to you. You can decide that if you want, but what I've always liked about Joe Rogan is that he listens to everybody. Like, a lot of the times I'm fucking disagreeing with him or what people are saying on it, but he listens to everybody, and everybody, you can see the humanity even in the people who are, who's your man, the fella, he's a Jewish fella. He's like a real right wing fella. Ben Shapiro. He's one that's on there. Like, I probably disagree with him on nearly everything he's ever said. But when I listen to him talk for 3 hours, I can see that he's a human being and he believes what he says. He's looking at the fashion show and seeing it's beautiful, and I'm looking at it not knowing what beauty he sees in it. So I mean, that's part of the duality is collapsing, and part of us seeing the oneness of each other is accepting each other, that we don't see the same. We don't see the same thing the same way, and can we accept each other and love each other regardless?
I don't know much about Ben Shapiro's views. What I've always found very interesting about him is how fast he is.
Yeah.
Whatever way he is, he's always so fast in his responses. I don't know if they make sense. I don't know if they're eloquent. I don't have an opinion on what he's saying most of the time, but he's just so fast. It's as if his brain is working like 3 times faster than everybody else's.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, again, I can only give you my opinion, and I think that he's kind of has these talking points that he's just going to keep giving over and over and over again. It's just, they're kind of like, it's a lot of that is done in the political debates, and that's why I can see it on both sides. Both sides, when I see somebody doing it the way he does it, I get an ick, which doesn't mean that he shouldn't do it, or doesn't mean that he's wrong even. Just means that it doesn't resonate with me. But I've seen many people like that on Joe Rogan, and I've seen people from the left and the right who I thought were sensible, and I've seen people from the left and the right who I thought were ridiculous. So it's a good way of seeing.
And you know who's in the middle of them? Alex Jones.
Alex Jones, he's hilarious. Alex Jones is hilarious. Like, I don't care what you say.
Do you know something? Alex Jones makes a lot of sense up until a certain point. Yeah. Like, sometimes he'll say things and I'll be like, Jesus, that's spot on. And then he'll go, aliens.
Yeah, well, he just shouts things like, yeah, I know. Like, I mean, it's very easy to get lost down the, this, putting all these things together. But when it comes to conspiracies or anything like that, to me, like, we're literally, you don't exist and I don't exist. We're living in an illusion. So any conspiracy after that is pointless to wonder about. It's like pointing at a cloud and saying that cloud looks like a Kanye Nazi salute, and you say, no, he's just waving.
I don't like the way you always call the beauty of life an illusion.
It is an illusion.
It's not an illusion. It's a very beautiful thing. That it's a journey and a fucking...
Yeah, it's a journey of manifestation of emotions and things, but it's an illusion because, like, we don't actually... If you look, there's no, like, science or anyone can't tell you what we are. They can't tell you what consciousness is. They can't tell you what our smallest particle is, because every time they find it, the smaller ones, quarks or quantum physics, quantum neutrons and all this, and it just keeps getting smaller because basically we're just light. Like, so as I always say, you have to find your own way. I'm not telling you what it is. I'm just telling you what I think it is.
Space dust.
Space dust. Well, space dust is, again, an illusion. It's an illusion, Philip. I've been reading actually a good book about the Gnostic Gospels.
Okay.
And it's called Forbidden Religion, and it's actually a great book, not just on Gnosticism, but on Christianity and how, like, so fast it got put into, like, countless sects, and all these sects have been called heresies, and how the Catholic Church started off in Hungary. It was in the Czech Republic or something was the center of it, and then there was like. There was all these different sects, and before they had, like, the Vatican in Rome, there was, like, so many sects that came and went. The Gnostic Gospels, where people think they're the earliest Gospels that are found. There's Matthew, they think is the one that's in so there's books that are in the Bible as we know it, and there's other books, and basically Gnosticism is saying that Jesus was teaching you not to look outside yourself for God, but to look inside yourself. So it's basically non-duality Christianity. And it was one of the earliest known sects of it. So, of course, like everything we talk about on here, like, people found the message of Jesus. Some people found the resonance in it. But then after that, people want to create organizations around it, or create agendas around it, or not even on purpose, just they think this is the way to do it. And so the church just grew up to be huge, and it just goes through, the whole book is about, like, different sects of Christianity, different beliefs, where the virgin birth came in was because to prove some other thing wrong. So there's all these things that we are told now in the what we've been taught, like in school type of Jesus thing, is all got added way down past the original message, you know what I mean? Hundreds of years in time. And then, like, we had dark ages, and it's just an interesting book to read about it.
But it all just comes back to right and wrong. At the end of it, and you can say what is right and wrong, but it all comes back to not inflicting anything that could be considered pain on another human being, whether it be physically or emotionally, and just kind of living within your lane.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't even go that far. I'd say Jesus only had one message, and that was... Love your neighbour as yourself.
No, but that's what I mean.
Love the Lord with all your heart. That's basically means realise that you are God, and then love your neighbour as yourself. Realise that not just you, but everybody else is God, and that means you're basically all is one.
Yeah.
So treat people how you want to be treated. That's the main. That's the only message really that I can see that Jesus ever gave as, like, a direct kind of rule. Whereas, like, before in the Old Testament, there was, like, the 10 Commandments and all these things. Like, these were rules, which would be, like, in the law, one would be like the negative polarity, because that creates order. Like, and we've talked about you need both, like, because without any rules, it probably would have just went into chaos. So you need these institutions, and the same with Catholicism and with Christianity. You needed these organizations to spring up to kind of make the rules and to bring some order. But of course, with that comes power and people.
But that's it. Like with somebody, anybody who can manipulate the rules will end up at the top, and it's always the most evil. It's always the most evil.
Yeah, well, it's not always, I mean, we don't know for sure. It's always most evil. It could be more evil people in the wings, like, but probably, yeah, probably a lot of people with desire for power end up at the top, and that's the way it is. So the next book I'm going to read now, because they mentioned this in it a lot, was they talked about the new romantics and how the like Dante's Paradiso. So I've downloaded that. That's my next book to read.
Lovely.
So I'm going to go through the 7 circles of hell and all the way up to the paradise and see what that's all about, because that's a book that's come into my vision many a time. So we'll see what that's all about.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
And Jim, you know, you did well to read that book with all your heavy losses this week.
Oh, I did. Yeah, we've got a Belledness of the Week. I'm putting my hands up because Belledness of the Week this week is Jim Wynn.
Ladies and gentlemen, James Wynn is this week's Belledness of the Week. Now, I could say it's this James Wynn.
Allegedly.
Or it might not be him, because he hasn't even admitted it to me yet. Because we do know there's a man out there called James Wynn. No, I don't think anybody's ever seen him, because he's an internet, he's like a crypto magnate.
Yeah, he sounds handsome anyway.
He started off with $7,000 in a cryptocurrency called Pepe, which is a cryptocurrency that he also owns.
I don't own I own some.
You own 24 million of it.
Yeah.
Which isn't like right. That sounds like, but so 24 million of it is like a couple of £100. James Wynn started off. A different James Wynn allegedly started off with 7,000, bought a load of Pepe, sold it, bought a load of something else. Anyway, he spun it up to 1.25 billion.
Nice.
And last week, James Wynn, may or may not be him, lost all the 1.25 billion in crypto last week in 2 days.
It's tough going for old Jim Wynn. That's a dark week.
Now, listen, if that was you, as I'm saying, and you didn't even get us a Super Bowl ad out of it for the Temple Bard podcast. If you were gambling,
money was tied up in crypto.
If you were gambling 1.25 billion in crypto and you didn't even at least get us a Super Bowl ad,
all my assets were in crypto. I couldn't get them out. They wouldn't accept crypto.
They wouldn't accept Bitcoin.
They wouldn't accept Bitcoin for a Super Bowl ad. Imagine, how dare they? But yeah, it was funny. A few people tagged me in these stories all week.
This week,
James Wynn loses 1.25 billion.
This week we were getting tagged in wedding bands and Jim Wynn losing all his money in crypto.
Yeah, and if you ask, is it me? Technically, no, but actually, yes. Because all is one, Philip. So of course it is me. Just as you are, just as I am.
Just as you are.
We all are.
So that's not answering. So it might be.
So we'll see. Watch this space. I might start a fashion line with John Galliardo. Oh yeah, another thing that he got in trouble for was, and this must be where Ben Stiller got it from, because he did like when he was in Paris, he got inspired by all the homeless people in Paris, and he did like a fashion show with like people wearing newspapers and stuff. Like, what do they call it in that Ben Stiller thing?
Zoolander.
Zoolander. Yeah, they called it. What did they call it? You know, they have.
I don't know, street chic or something.
No, it was derelict.
Oh, derelict.
Yeah, it was derelict. Yeah. So that must have been where they got the. So apparently he caused a big stir, and a lot of people protested him.
What a film!
Because they thought he was taking a great film. So even if you think that,
and I hear Blue Steve, and I hear Magnum's going to blow us all away.
Yeah,
it's the same look for everything.
Yeah, it's the same look. Just thought that must have been where they got that the idea for that, because basically was derelict, but he did it for serious. He did it for real. He's a very interesting guy. Like you'd see it. Like, I don't know if he's genuine in anything he says. He seemed like very kind of shallow. That's just my perspective of looking at him from an interview, and I don't
but I think
don't
you
know
have
him
to
at all.
be like, okay, we're not saying don't clip that. We're not saying if you're in the fashion industry you're shallow. We're saying you probably have, if you're a designer, you probably have to just be.
But no, but it's different.
Surface level.
But it's what.
Harsh.
But what I see as shallow isn't what someone else sees shallow, because they're seeing deep. Literally deep cuts about the fashion. They're seeing some depth in that I don't see. So I'm shallow in that department. So I'm not saying, but I'm just saying when I was listening to him talking, and I just found that it didn't come across to me as being really genuine. But that doesn't mean it's not genuine. That just means that it didn't come across to me as being genuine.
But then when you listen, and we're not going to name music managers, but when you do, like there are a couple of big music managers that we've met over the years. When you hear them on the phone, they're cutthroat bastards. Like they're like, is he? Yeah, no.
The Venga Boys will be off by fucking 9 o'clock. I'm telling you. No snow, no show. There was a famous fella, the manager for Led Zeppelin. Did you ever hear him? He used to go around threatening the club owners and the promoters.
No way.
He used to go in and he used to get everything. Apparently before that, a lot of promoters took the piss, took advantage, but he was some big fella that used to just go in and he threatened them physically, and they used to get everything given and more. Apparently, I can't remember what his name is. In the comments, tell us the name of the manager for Led Zeppelin that was the enforcer and manager.
And I went to listen to you, man, before Howard Marks.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you this?
You did. I think you said it on the podcast.
Oh, did
you
I?
and your brother, was it?
Yeah, me and my brother went to see, your man, Mr. Nice, the boy that was smuggling all the drugs. And he used to smuggle them in Led Zeppelin and The Who's guitar cases. That's how he used to smuggle the drugs initially. He used to put them in the guitar cases and in the amps.
Right.
He used to strap all the weed inside them.
Yeah.
And fly it all over the world.
What did I watch last night again? Oh yeah, I watched some documentary about some huge drug empire, and it was run by a fellow with no convictions, and they found the whole thing started as they found a van full of amphetamines in Holland with $1 million, and then from this they found all these bank accounts. They had shell companies and all these mad things, but they used to ship all the drugs they used to buy huge amounts of onions, ginger and stuff, foods that would smell, to ship the drugs in. So apparently if you're shipping drugs, you want strong felons smelling food.
This is so mad we're having this conversation now, literally today, right? In my local paper, it's called the Anglo-Celt. They had a story about a man from Kingscourt in Cavan and a guy from Monaghan. And one of them was 61, one of them was 62, and one of them owns a garden centre in Cavan. And they were arrested with 5 million worth of heroin and cocaine found in this garden centre in Cavan, and some of it in Monaghan. Now,
it's a big garden centre.
So this is what blew my mind. When I think of the supply chain process in drugs, you think of Dublin-based criminal gangs, you think of safe houses, you think of stash houses, you think of warehouses. It goes to show you how far away from reality and from knowing that we actually are, when it's actually 5 million worth of heroin. That heroin's not going to Cavan. There's not 5 million of heroin going to Cavan or Monaghan. That 5 million of heroin's going to Dublin, it's going to Cork, it's going to Limerick. So it's mad that it's when I picture young fellas, you know what I mean? Like yup bros and all, getting the drugs and chopping it up and all. I don't picture
that's probably at the street level, you know?
No, but that's at street level. But when it's coming in, it's obviously going to older fellas in garden centres in fucking Cavan. You know what I mean?
Well, this documentary I seen was the exact same vibe. These were all people who were, I think there was 13 of them or something, and they ran it so well that there was 3 shipments a week, and they would it as far as customs were concerned, it ticked all the boxes of being right, and they were so used to seeing it before, there was no suspicion gauged with it. It took one fella was minding a van full of amphetamine, a van full of speed. He left it parked outside and went to the pub, and he went on a Belledale session, and he left it there for too long, and the police found it. Well, apparently the police were watching them before that,
right?
But apparently once they found that van and they could follow the paper trail to the shell companies that was in, they were able to uncover more of the bigger organisation. But like we said on this before,
I'd love to have a truck driver on.
That'd be good. Yeah.
I'd love to have a truck driver on just to hear that.
Yeah.
Like, he's obviously never going to tell us anything, but he'd be able to tell us the logistics and what he believes kind of goes on and shit like that. If we have any truck drivers, give us anybody with a connection to a good truck driver.
It doesn't even have to be
someone in logistics.
It doesn't have to be shipping drugs. It can be just shipping in general.
Yeah, people and all.
Yeah.
I only want a truck driver if he's shipping drugs or people. Anything else, I don't want to hear about it.
Or dualities.
That's That's going to be clipped. Oh, they'll come at us in the comments over that. You watch the comments under that video. You watched it. So for anybody who does listen to us, sorry, Jim. Sorry for cutting you off.
I was out.
For anybody who does listen to us, we've noticed in ourselves that when a video goes viral, all our videos that have done well, and what we'll call the outside world comes in, people who from outside the podcast who don't normally, we've like a community in here of people who listen to us every week, and when a video goes viral, you've the outside world coming in, people who don't know us and who just see 30 seconds of what we say and they jump on it and they give their opinion and they go fucking mad.
Yeah.
Now, what was I going to say about that? Right. So sorry. In that 30 seconds, that's all they see, and that's the madness of it. We could delve into it. We could delve into something on this and we could talk about it at length for like 10, 15 minutes. But what they see the 30 seconds on, they judge you on what they see in that 30 seconds. And you become that. You become that 30 seconds.
And that's exactly how we all see the world, view the world. We all do that. We all do that. Like we said before, you get triggered for these things and suddenly that becomes your view of that thing, even if you're not. Like it's like we talked about people who think Joe Rogan's like a right-wing fascist because they heard he had someone on. They haven't watched an episode or seen the thing. They've made their mind up in that way, or they see something that we say and they decide that this is our opinion or this is what we're saying. And I guarantee you we do it as well. So it's just, that's the whole point, my whole point of seeing your man doing the fashion or watching people that do things that I don't get. It's because I can understand that they see things in it that I don't see. And it's the same as we're all projecting the world outwards. We're not, the universe isn't happening to us, it's happening through us. So as we project our version of reality out, it mixes with everybody else's versions of realities, and then it comes back and then we react to it however we choose.
Well, it's mad because anything can go viral at any time. And I think like when we've had clips that we were like, that could probably do well, or probably maybe it's done nothing. And then fucking something off the cup will just explode. So there's a video doing the rounds at the moment. Have you seen the one? This is so bad. Like some lad singing at a campfire and he's like, and you'll be dancing by the day in summer. And he's like on his tippy toes. And he's like, singing on his tippy toes and he's got like a bit of a goat thing going on with his voice. He's like, like it's like whatever way he's singing it. But this video just happened to, the outside world came into his video. It blew up for him.
Right.
And now everybody's doing like copycat videos of it on their tippy toes, like jumping up and singing, like and like making it's mad. And his name is Brendan Abernathy. I found it like never would have heard of him when he for this video just went massive. And that's it. That video has just brought him to the next level. It's huge now. And it's people are like taking the piss, but at the same time, the song's not bad. And now the song's just fucking exploded for him.
Yeah, that happens a lot with I haven't seen this video now, so I can't really comment about the song or anything. But that happens a lot with things. Like, you know that fucking song, Tiptoe Through the Tulips.
Oh my God. Tiny Tim.
Yeah.
What a tune.
Like that started off as a piss take from everyone that used it online. And then people started liking it. It's the same with like Jedward or something, you know? People thought it was a piss take and then people started, I really like these guys. It's the same as judging immigrants and then meeting an immigrant, or like it's like, you know, once you've built that relationship.
Jedward, our potential future guest. So I was like, don't say anything. Man. I was like, don't slag Jedward.
No, I'm not slagging them at all. They did great with what they got, with their moment that they got, and they made they're authentic, I think, to themselves.
No, but they're deadly. Did you ever hear them speaking off like they're the two boys are sound.
No, I haven't heard them speaking.
Like they're they knew exactly what they were doing, like with the
probably yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know whether they did or not.
They're both very clever Gawsons.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. It's like once you've given someone the time, then you start. Do you know, we've talked about Lewis Doyle on here a lot. Which is like one of the greatest. If you are out there and you're not from Ireland, you want to get Irish humour, you watch one of Lewis Doyle's videos.
Did you see his song the other day, Temple Bar?
Temple Bar Girl. But it's not just him. It's the comments underneath it. All the comments are like, this is the greatest thing I've ever heard. And nobody breaks the wall.
Nobody breaks the wall. I commented from our page the other day and I said, Lewis, you've really captured the essence of Temple Bar here. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's the Irish humour. If you're looking for it and you want to find it,
It's brilliant.
And
he's going to be at the All Together Now festival.
Yeah.
How's he going to do that? Is he going to wear a balaclava?
I don't know. He might be behind it. Like people do that, don't
Or
they?
is he going to get a printout of that face and wear that face on the stage?
I'm not sure. It'd be interesting to see. Will there be video of it?
It has to be, of course. Everybody's going to want to see Lewis Doyle. So.
Yeah. But it's a great example of the Irish humour, and so that's
He's brilliant.
He's brilliant. He is brilliant, and he's single-handedly saving Irish music. Go Lewis Doyle.
Go Lewis Doyle.
Well, that's it for episode 43 of the Temple Bard podcast. Thanks for coming down by the river with us. Whether it's a flaming river of whiskey
And pigs.
and burnt cows, I hope you'll squash your beef, and we'll see you next time. Stay bold.
Sláinte.